It was cold. Not the kind of cold you fight with your jacket zipped up or your hands stuffed in your pockets. It was the kind that settled into your bones. It's the kind that reminded you didn't belong anywhere. Asterisk, I hadn't eaten in 2 days. I had walked 3 neighborhoods already, hoping to find anything worth stealing. That's who I was back then. A nobody, a shadow, thief. Then I saw the house. It sat at the top of the hill like it owned the world. Wide white pillars, tall windows glowing soft yellow, and no movement inside. It looked empty-rich, clean, and still. I should have walked away. But I was tired of sleeping under bridges and waking up to sirens. I told myself I'd just grab some food, maybe some cash, and be gone before anyone noticed. Asterisk, the side door was unlocked. I slipped in like a ghost. Asterisk, the kitchen smelled like fresh lemon and vanilla. To clean. My sneakers made no sound on the tile floor. Heart pounded so loud I could feel it in my teeth. I grabbed a banana from the fruit bowl like it might explode. Asterisk. That's when I saw her. Asterisk. She was sitting at the far end of the dining table, head in her hands, a glass of red wine in front of her. Her hair was blonde, neatly brushed, but tired-looking. She wore a pale sweater, the sleeves pulled halfway over her hands. She wasn't moving, just staring at something I couldn't see. Crying, I froze. Asterisk, she didn't see me. Or maybe she did and didn't care. I didn't know what to do. My hands shook. My first instinct was to run, back out the door, down the hill, into the dark. But something about her stopped me. Asterisk, she looked broken. Not like someone having a bad day, but like someone who'd been sad for years and had just stopped hiding it. Asterisk, I backed up slowly, at my shoes nearly silent. I turned the corner, found a hallway, and followed it. The guest house was connected to the main home through a back passage. I found a tiny laundry room with a locked cabinet, a pile of towels, and a half-empty water bottle. Asterisk, I sat down in the pee corner and ate the banana like it was the last food on earth. Asterisk. My heart didn't slow down for a long time. I should have left that night. I should have taken that as a sign, but I didn't. I stayed. Asterisk, in the mornings, I listened for footsteps. In the afternoons, I watched her through the windowy haze. I found her name on a mail envelope near the trash bin. The woman on the hill, the queen in her glass castle. But she didn't look like a queen. She looked like someone barely holding it together. Asterisk, she didn't know I was still there. Or maybe she did, but didn't care. Either way, I kept hidden. I stole food from the back fridge, just enough not to be noticed. I slept in the pool house. Behind the garden, it was cold and smelled like chlorine, but it had blankets. Asterisk, every night, she sat at the same table, glass of wine, same sweater. Same sadness. I couldn't stop watching. Asterisk, on the third night, I found a torn letter in the trash. I don't know why I picked it up, but I did. The handwriting was sharp and angry. Asterisk, greater than you signed it all away. You'll get what you deserve. Asterisk, there was no name, just that sentence. Asterisk, I read it twice, maybe 3 times, and my fingers were trembling. Asterisk, this wasn't just a rich woman living alone. Something bad was happening inside that house. Asterisk and I had just walked into the middle of it. I don't know why I stayed. Maybe because for the first time in my life, I saw someone whose pain looked like mine. Maybe because deep down I wanted to help, or maybe I was just tired of running. Asterisk, but that night, I made a decision. I wasn't leaving yet. The guest house behind the mansion was smaller than I expected. Bare walls, old cushions, boxes full of unused decorations, cracked mirror. Leaned against one side, facing the backyard. Through its reflection, I could see the main house and the tall windows that lined the back wall. Asterisk, that's where I saw her. Emma Hayes. Asterisk, for 2 days, I stayed hidden. I only moved at night, quietly slipping into the kitchen to steal scraps. Half-half, an apple, a corner of toast, crackers from the pantry. I didn't take much. I didn't want her to know I was still here. Asterisk, but I couldn't stop watching her. Asterisk, she moved through the house like she was underwater slow. It's silent, disconnected. Never saw her smile, not once. She spent hours sitting by the window in the living room, staring out at nothing. Sometimes with a book in her lap, sometimes with a mug in her hands. She rarely turned the TV on. She barely touched her phone. She was alone. And yet I knew she wasn't supposed to be. I found evidence of someone else all over the place. Toothbrush beside hers. A razor in the shower. A man's jacket hanging by the door. But he wasn't there. Her husband. I didn't know his name yet, but I knew one thing: he hadn't been home in a while. At least not in those 2 days. The lights in the master bedroom stayed off. The driveway stayed empty. Asterisk, it was a broken home, had broken into something already shattered. On the 3rd day, I found the trash bin unlocked near the garage. I wasn't looking for anything. I was just checking if she threw out food. But what I found was more personal. Asterisk, scraps of paper. Torn letters. A crumpled up email printout. One page had her name, Mama Hazond. Someone else's signature below it. Richard Hayes. That must have been him. Rick. The words were sharp, legal. Something about assets, property, divorce. A few lines were still readable. Asterisk, greater than if you don't. Agree to these terms, I'll file for full control of the estate. Asterisk, your father's company was my idea to save. You're lucky I didn't let it collapse. Asterisk, sign it, Emma, or I will. Asterisk, I read them twice. My stomach twisted. So this wasn't just some sad marriage. This was war, violent, bitter, and dangerous. Asterisk, and somehow I'd walked right into the middle of it. That night, she sat by the window again, couldn't stop staring. Asterisk, she looked like a ghost. Pale, hollow. Her fingers moved slowly across her coffee cup, tracing a circle over and over. I saw something inside her I recognized, like an echo of myself. Asterisk. And that's when I did something stupid. I wrote her a note. I found a small pad and pen from the guest house drawer. I tore out a sheet and scribbled, Asterisk, greater than you're not alone. I see you. I know you're hurting. You deserve better. I didn't sign it. I waited until she was asleep, and snuck up to the back porch and slipped the note under the glass near the kitchen door. Then I ran back to the guest house like a scared kid. Asterisk, the next morning. I watched from the window. She found it. I saw her pause. She unfolded the paper, stared at it for a long time. Her hand shook slightly. Then, to my surprise, she smiled. Not a full smile, not a happy one, but something, a flicker. Asterisk, she folded the note and tucked it into her sweater pocket. The second note came the next night. Asterisk, greater than he doesn't control who you are. You're stronger than him. Asterisk, this time. I left it in the mailbox at the gate. Asterisk, she found it in the morning on her walk. I held my breath as she read it, and again, that flicker of something in her eyes. She looked up at the sky for a moment, like someone was watching her. Asterisk, maybe she thought it was from a friend, a neighbor, a stranger. Asterisk, maybe she thought it was from someone already gone. The third note was the one that changed everything. Asterisk, greater than. You remind me of someone I lost. He used to tell me that the strongest people cry in silence. That one made her cry. Real tears. Not the quiet kind I saw before. I watched her from behind the blinds. She sat on the porch steps and cried for a long time. Then she whispered something I couldn't hear, but I could see her lips move. Asterisk, Dad. It hit me. Notes were from her father. Maybe he was dead. Maybe he used to say things like that. Either way, I'd given her a ghost to believe in. Asterisk, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a thief. Asterisk, I felt like someone who mattered. Asterisk, the sound of tires crunching gravel made me freeze. Asterisk, I was sitting on the cold floor of the guest house, eating dry cereal from the box. It was nearly midnight. Emma hadn't turned on any lights tonight. The house was dark, still heavy. Asterisk, then. The headlights flashed across the garden. A black BMW pulled into the driveway, slow and smooth like it belonged there, like it owned everything it touched. Asterisk, and just like that, the air changed. He was home. Asterisk, I crept to the edge of the window. The porch light flicked on. Car door opened, and a tall man stepped out. Suit jacket off, shirt slightly wrinkled, his tie pulled loose like he just walked out of a business deal and didn't care how it ended. Asterisk. Asterisk. Asterisk, he walked with the confidence of someone who expected the world to move aside for him.
I watched.
Him toss his keys onto the table in the front hallway like he'd done it 1,000 times. Asterisk, a moment later, the shouting started. You burned it again, Emma. It's steak, not rocket science. Asterisk, I could hear it through the vents. The kitchen window was open just enough. I'm sorry, her voice was small. You always say that. You've got one job. You sit around all day doing God knows what, and you can't even get dinner right. I didn't know what time you went. Never know what time. You never know anything. Asterisk, the sound of a plate hitting the wall made me flinch. A perfect dinner wasted for no reason except power. Asterisk, I gripped the edge of the window frame until my knuckles turned white. Then silence. Long, heavy silence. I moved closer, careful not to be seen. I peeked through the curtains. Asterisk Emma stood by the stove, motionless, a broken plate at her feet. Rick sat at the dining table with a beer in one hand, scrolling through his phone with the other. Asterisk, and then she cleaned up. Asterisk without a word. She bent down, picked up the pieces of ceramic, wiped the floor, and threw the mess in the bin. She even poured him another drink before retreating upstairs like nothing happened. She didn't cry this time. She just vanished. I sat back down. On the floor of the guest house, breathing hard. Asterisk, I'd seen people like Rick before. The ones who pretend to be perfect when people are watching, who smile at waiters and charm neighbors. But behind closed doors, monsters. I hated him instantly, and I hated that she said nothing. The next morning, I watched Rick leave for work in a different car, a silver Tesla. He wore a suit so perfect, it made him look like a movie star. He kissed Emma on the cheek like nothing happened the night before. Asterisk, she stood there, arms stiff by her side. The second the car disappeared down the driveway, she closed the door and leaned her head against it. That's when her phone buzzed. She picked it up and read the screen. I couldn't see the name, but I saw the tiny smile that tugged at the corner of her lips. Her fingers moved across the screen. Dr. Michael Gray. The text preview showed, asterisk, just a name. A friend, maybe, or someone who still cared. I didn't know who he was, but I hoped just for a second that he was a better man than Rick. That night, I thought about leaving. But something inside me said no. I wasn't done watching. Asterisk not. Yet asterisk. I knew it was stupid to stay so long. Asterisk, I had been careful, silent footsteps, no lights, eating scraps from the fridge when no one was around. But I was tired. My body ached from sleeping on the floor. I let my guard down. That's when it happened. I was in the guest house bathroom washing my face when I heard the door creak open. Hello? A woman's voice called. Not Emma? Clara? Asterisk, the housekeeper. I turned and saw her reflection in the mirror just as she stepped inside. Her eyes met mine and she screamed. Asterisk. Loud, sharp, the kind of scream that cut through bone. Asterisk, I panicked and backed against the wall, hands raised. Please don't. She dropped the laundry basket and ran out. Seconds later, I heard fast footsteps coming from the main house. The back door slammed open. Then came the beam of a flashlight slicing through the dark. Emma. Asterisk, she burst in, breathless, her hair a mess. Clara, what? Then she saw me. We both froze. She held the flashlight like a weapon, pointed straight at my chest. I couldn't see her face fully, but I saw her hands trembling. Asterisk, who are you? She whispered. Asterisk, I slowly raised my hands. Jake, I said. Jake, Carter. She didn't lower the light. Why are you here? Her voice was calm, but tight like a wire about to snap. Asterisk, I swallowed hard. I broke in. 2 nights ago. Asterisk why? Asterisk, I was starving. She blinked. Her lips parted, but no words came. I kept going, had nothing left to lose. Asterisk, I thought the house was empty. Then I saw you, that first night. You were. Crying, I stayed because, I don't know why. Looked like someone who needed something, so did I. Asterisk, her shoulders dropped a little. The flashlight lowered slightly. Asterisk, you didn't take anything? She asked. Asterisk, no, I swear. Asterisk, I stepped aside, gesturing to the room behind me. I slept here, ate a little, left you a few notes. Asterisk, she stared at me like I was a puzzle missing half its pieces. Then she turned back toward the doorway. Asterisk Clara, she said firmly. Go home for the night. Botimahis, I said go. Asterisk a pause. Then I heard Clara's footsteps retreating toward the main house, muttering under her breath. Now it was just us. Asterisk Emma walked slowly inside. She sat down in the chair across from me. Her hands were still shaking. Asterisk, you saw me crying, she said. Not a question. Statement, asterisk. Yeah, asterisk. She nodded slowly, looking down at her lap. That night, I thought I was completely alone. Asterisk, you weren't, I said. I know it's weird, but I stayed because I didn't know where else to go. You looked like someone who understood pain. Asterisk. She looked up, and for the first time I saw her clearly, asterisk eyes red, exhausted, but still, something strong underneath. Why didn't you take anything? She asked again, quieter this time. Asterisk, I shrugged. Didn't feel right. I've stolen before. From stores, empty homes. But this place, I don't know. It felt like stealing from someone already robbed. Asterisk, she laughed, but it was hollow. One way to describe me? Asterisk, I looked away. I didn't mean to hit that nerve. Asterisk, after a long silence, she said you should go. Before Rick comes back, asterisk I will, tonight. But as I stood, she didn't move. Neither did I. There was a strange moment, silent but full, like two people hanging on the same edge, not knowing whether to jump or hold each other steady. I won't call the police, she said at last. Why not? Asterisk, she gave a sad smile. 'Cause I don't think you broke in to steal. I think you broke in to see if someone would notice. Asterisk, my throat tightened. I wanted to say thank you, but I couldn't, so I just nodded. Asterisk, that night. I didn't sleep, not because I was scared anymore, but because for the first time I was beginning to care about someone again. Asterisk. Morning, I packed my things. Asterisk well. The few things I had, asterisk a torn blanket, a broken watch, my dignity still hanging by a thread. Asterisk, I expected Emma to tell me to leave before sunrise. Instead, she came to the guest house with 2 mugs of coffee, one for her, one for me. Asterisk, she sat on the edge of the dusty table and said, let's make a deal. I raised an eyebrow. What kind of deal? Asterisk, you stay here, she said, quietly out of sight. In return, you help me fix small things. Take the trash out before Clara gets in. Keep to yourself. Asterisk, I stared at her. Joke. And I don't call the cops, she added. Ah, there it was. Asterisk, I crossed my arms. What's the catch? Asterisk, she sipped her coffee, then looked me dead in the eye. You don't tell anyone what you saw? Not about Rick? Not about the fight? Not about me crying in that kitchen? My silence was her price. I thought about it for a second. Asterisk, okay, I said. Deal. The days that followed were strange. Quiet but heavy. Asterisk, I kept to my end. I washed dishes after Emma cooked, swept the guest house, fixed a leaky faucet. In the upstairs bathroom, small things. Invisible things. Asterisk, she gave me food. Warm blankets, a book or 2 from her old shelf. It wasn't much, but after years of being unseen, it felt like a life. Asterisk still, the more I stayed. The more I noticed, Emma wasn't just sad, she was scared. She checked the front windows. Every evening at 6, like she was expecting something bad. Her phone would buzz, and she'd flinch. She avoided the mirror in the hallway, maybe, because it showed her bruises too clearly. Asterisk one night. As we both sat outside under the dark sky, I asked, "Why haven't you left him?" Asterisk, she didn't look at me. Just stared out toward the trees. Asterisk, my father built this house, she said. This land. The company. Rick wasn't supposed to have any of it. Asterisk, and now, she took a slow breath. He's taking it all. Night, she told me the whole truth. Asterisk, how Rick had forged her signature on documents, moved company money without her consent. How he had friends in high places, lawyers, judges, people who smiled in courtrooms and stabbed behind closed doors. Asterisk, if I speak up, I lose everything, she whispered. He'll make sure I look crazy, broke, bitter. I clenched my jaw, and if you stay quiet, he wins. Asterisk, she didn't answer. She didn't have to. I went back to the guest house that night, sat in the dark for hours. Asterisk, I thought about all the things I'd run from school, family, jobs, cops, shelters. But here, something felt different. Asterisk, for the first time. I wasn't just hiding from the world, I was watching it hurt someone I cared about. And that I couldn't do anymore. The next morning, I showed her how to encrypt her files. I helped her hide flash drives inside the walls. I cleaned out her email, taught her how to back up her messages. Emma wasn't tech-savvy, but she listened. Asterisk, she trusted me. Asterisk, one afternoon, she opened a box I hadn't seen before. Inside were printed bank statements, marriage contracts, company shares all signed. Asterisk, I flipped through them. Rick's name was everywhere. This is enough to bury him, I said. She nodded, eyes wide with fear. But he'll bury me first. I didn't say what I was thinking, not out loud. But I looked her in the eyes and thought, Rick threw parties. Like they were battles, loud, sharp, and full of fake smiles. Asterisk, the house glittered that night. Lights like diamonds, waiters in white coats, women in tight dresses. Rick in his best suit, glass of scotch in hand, grinning like he'd already won the war. He hadn't won anything yet. I wore borrowed clothes and stood in the back, pretending. To help Clara with drinks, no one noticed me just the way I liked it. I moved like a shadow, invisible in a room full of masks, until I heard him. Asterisk Rick stood in the center of the living room, surrounded by a circle of men in expensive watches. In cheap morals, I slipped closer, a tray of champagne in my hand. He laughed loud enough for the whole room to hear. Emma thinks she's clever, he said, voice slick with arrogance. But soon this house, the company, even her father's legacy, it'll all be mine. The men chuckled. She signed everything over without even knowing it, he added. She's too emotional to see straight. I felt my jaw clench, but I kept my hand steady, asterisk inside my pocket. Emma's phone was already recording. I got what I needed. Asterisk later. In the hallway, I slipped the phone back to her under a napkin. Our fingers touched. Her eyes met mine. I nodded once. She knew. And for the first time since I'd met her. She looked ... ready. Emma didn't wait, asterisk. She walked into the center of the room like a storm in heels. Asterisk, everyone turned. The music stopped. Even Rick raised his eyebrow. Asterisk, she stood beside the grand piano, holding the phone. Her voice was calm. Asterisk, I want you all to hear something. And then she hit play. Rick's voice filled the room. She signed everything. Without knowing it, asterisk, too emotional to see straight. Laughter, deception, arrogance, each word louder than the last. The silence that followed was brutal. Eyes widened. Champagne glasses paused midair. The fake smiles dropped like dead flies. Rick's face turned pale. You recorded me. As stamped as smiling, you recorded yourself. Thomas Green, the man with the biggest Checkbook in the room stood up. He looked Rick dead in the eye. Asterisk, we're done, he said. Pull my investment. Then he walked out. Others followed. Murmurs grew louder. Sophie Miller, an influencer with millions of followers, pulled out her phone. Asterisk smile. Rick, she said. This one's going viral. Click flash, upload. Asterisk Rick tried to spin it. She's crazy. This is manipulation. She's always been unstable. No one listened. Emma stood taller than I'd ever seen her. Not broken, not scared. Asterisk Clara stood beside her, holding her hand. I stayed in the background, but my chest burned with pride. He didn't look like a king anymore. He looked like a man, small, defeated, alone. That night, after everyone left, the house was quiet again. Emma and I sat on the back porch. She didn't cry. Asterisk, she just whispered, thank you. I didn't say anything, but I thought, this is only the beginning, asterisk. It happened fast. The front door slammed open like it had been punched by a storm. Rick's voice roared through the hallway. Asterisk, Emma. Asterisk, I dropped the wrench I was holding in the guest house and sprinted toward the main house. My heart was already pounding. Something felt wrong. No more masks. No more games. Just raged. Asterisk, by the time I reached the kitchen door, I heard it a slap. Flesh on flesh, sickening crack. Then silence. I burst into the room. Emma was on the floor, one hand on her cheek. Eyes wide with shock. Asterisk Rick stood over her, panting. His fists still clenched. Get away from her, I growled. He turned. Asterisk you, he sneered. The stray dog she took in. Of course, I didn't wait. I launched myself at him. The fight was messy. Not like the movies. There were no clean punches, no choreographed spins, just two men throwing fists, rolling on hardwood, knocking over furniture. Asterisk Rick was stronger, but I was angrier. Asterisk, I tackled him into the wall. He grabbed a lamp. I ducked. It smashed behind me. He kneed me in the ribs. I elbowed him in the jaw. Asterisk then, I heard Clara screaming. I'm calling the police. Rick froze. You'll regret this. Emma, he hissed, spitting blood. You just ruined your life. Asterisk Emma stood now. Her voice didn't shake. Asterisk, double quotes, no, Rick, she said. I just got it back. Red and blue lights painted the windows. Asterisk Officer James Nolan entered with a firm knock and calm eyes. His presence changed the air like someone had finally opened. A window in a room full of smoke. Asterisk Mr. Hayes, he said, voice steady. You're under arrest for domestic violence, fraud, and theft. Rick laughed, hollow and bitter. You've got no case. Asterisk. I've got your investor statements, Emma's injuries, and audio files, the officer replied. What? To gamble in court? Rick's smile cracked. They cuffed him. As they let him out, he turned and looked at Emma one last time. Asterisk, you'll regret this, he said again, lower now. But Emma didn't flinch. She didn't cry. Asterisk, she didn't. Even blink asterisk, she just said, goodbye, Rick. And that was it. Asterisk, the car drove away. Flashing lights faded. Asterisk, Emma sat on the steps, her knees pulled to her chest. Asterisk, I sat beside her, nursing a bruised jaw and busted lip. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, she whispered, I thought he'd kill me.
I did.
Asterisk. She looked at me, eyes tired but alive. But he didn't. Asterisk, no, I said, looking up at the stars. He didn't. We weren't healed, we weren't whole, but we were safe. Asterisk. And for now. That was enough. The house didn't creak the same way anymore. The halls weren't filled with shouting or slammed doors. No broken glass. No cold silence. Just stillness. Peace. After Rick was gone, the place felt too big sometimes, like it had been holding its breath for years and finally exhaled. Asterisk. Emma started painting again. Asterisk, the old sunroom once, filled with unopened mail and dust turned into her studio. She set up canvases, brushes, oils, watercolors. Some days, I'd watch her from the doorway, brush in her hair, light on her face. She didn't look sad anymore. Asterisk, she looked like someone who had survived a storm and decided to plant flowers in the wreckage. I kept busy too. Asterisk fixed the shed out back. It used to be full of Rick's junkolf bags, broken tools, old trophies. We threw it all out. Asterisk took me 2 weeks, a sore back, and a few splinters. But when it was done, it felt like I had built something that was mine. Not stolen, not borrowed. Earned. Asterisk 1. Morning, I found Emma on the porch with a cup of tea and a white envelope in her hand. She held it out. "What's this?" I asked. Asterisk, open it. Inside were forms, applications, course lists, and a letter of admission. Asterisk. Art school. Paid in full. I stared at the papers like they were written in another language. Asterisk. I didn't apply. Asterisk, I did, she said. You said once. One. We were painting the fence that you used to draw. Said you wanted to study. You just never had the chance. I couldn't speak now. You do, she whispered. I didn't cry then, not in front of her. But that night, when I lay in the guest house bed, envelope on my chest, ceiling fan spinning slow above me, I cried. Not because I was sad, because someone believed in me. It's strange how the quiet can become something sacred. How a house once full of fear can become a home. Asterisk, Clara stayed on, still grumbling about dust and burnt toast. But now she laughed more. Asterisk, Emma painted in the sunroom. I sketched in the shed. Asterisk, sometimes we sat on the porch in the evenings and said nothing. Just watched the trees move. I wasn't a thief anymore. Asterisk. I didn't hide in shadows or steal leftovers. Asterisk, I fixed windows. I made tea. I filled out college essays. Asterisk, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I owed the world an apology for being alive. I felt worthy. It was almost dark when the knock came. Asterisk, not on the door. On the front gate. Asterisk, I was in the backyard cleaning paintbrushes when Emma called out, Jake. Asterisk, I wiped my hands and came around the corner. There, standing at the gate, was a boy, maybe 10 years old. No shoes. Thin arms. Shirt torn at the collar. Asterisk, he didn't speak right away. Just looked at us with wide, nervous eyes. Asterisk, Emma knelt beside him. Where are your parents, Asterisk? He shook his head. I ran away, he whispered. Asterisk, I knew that look. That hunger behind his eyes. The kind you don't get from missing just one meal. Asterisk, Emma looked at me. Asterisk, she didn't say anything, but asterisk, I brought him a sandwich and a glass of water. He sat on the steps and ate like he hadn't in days. Asterisk, when he was done, I sat next to him. Asterisk, you got a name? I asked. Asterisk, he hesitated. Leo, you remind me of someone, I said softly. Who? Me, I said. Asterisk, he looked up at me like I'd handed him something heavier than food, like maybe he mattered. Asterisk, and in that moment, I realized something. Asterisk, I wasn't the same boy who once broke into this house because he had nowhere else to go. I was someone who could open the door now. I was someone who could make space. For a kid like Leo, for someone like me, asterisk, asterisk, I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I first saw her crying all those months ago. Asterisk, a pen in my hand. A blank sheet of paper in front of me. My fingers hovered for a while before I finally wrote, asterisk, greater than Rick. Thank you for being cruel. You taught me exactly what I never want to become. Asterisk, because of you. I found a home, a reason, and a name I'm not ashamed of anymore. Asterisk, I'm not a thief now. I'm a person. And I don't hate you, I pity you. I stared at the letter for a long time. Then I folded it. Asterisk. Then I walked outside, lit a match, and watched it burn. Ash scattered in the wind. I didn't need to send it. Asterisk. It wasn't for him. It was for me. Asterisk later. That afternoon, Emma's art exhibit opened in town. Asterisk, it was held at the downtown gallery, white walls, gold lights. The kind of place I used to think I'd never step into unless I was cleaning the floors. Asterisk, but this time. I walked through the front door, beside Emma. Her name was everywhere. Asterisk Emma. Hayes rebuilt, a story in color. Asterisk, people clapped as she cut the ribbon. They stared at her paintings, raw, bright, honest. There was one of a house on a hill, one of a crying woman in a kitchen, one of a man standing in the rain, and one of two people sitting on a porch, side by side, faces turned to the sun. I knew what they meant. They were us. An older woman in a blue scarf came up to me. "You're Jake, right?" I nodded. She smiled. "Emma talks about you. Says you helped her get her voice back." I didn't know what to say, so I just smiled. Asterisk, because the truth is, she helped me too. Helped me stop hiding. Helped me become someone who doesn't run anymore. At the end of the night, Emma and I stood outside under the stars. She looked tired but happy. "You okay?" I asked. Asterisk, she nodded. "I'm okay." Now, asterisk, I looked up at the sky, breathing in the cool air. For the first time in years, I felt light. Not because the world had changed, but because I had. I turned to her. "Thank you," I said. Asterisk, for what? She asked. Asterisk, for seeing me when I didn't even see myself. Asterisk, she smiled. "We saved each other, Jake." And I believed her, because I wasn't a shadow in someone's hallway anymore. Asterisk, I wasn't a thief in the dark. I was Jake Carter, someone who survived. Asterisk, someone who stayed.